The desperate grin of a prince at a basketball game is not a sign of joy, but the terrified grimace of a man realizing his empire is built on sand. Good evening, and thank you for joining me for this discussion. If one were to judge the state of the Sussex Union solely by the glossy photographs emerging from California this past weekend, specifically from the NBA All-Star Game in Inglewood, one might be forgiven for thinking that Harry and Meghan are riding high. They sat courtside, the most expensive seats in the house, beaming at the cameras, laughing at private jokes, and projecting an image of unshakable prosperity. But as we have learned time and time again with this pair, the brighter the smile, the deeper the crisis. What we witnessed on Sunday, February 15th, was not a couple enjoying a leisurely evening out. It was a desperate, high-stakes business pitch disguised as a date night. We must look beyond the surface level of celebrity spotting. Yes, they were seated near Queen Latifah. Yes, the cameras found them. But observers in the VIP section noted a distinct chill in the air that the television broadcasts carefully avoided. The Hollywood elite, the true power players of the industry, treated the Duke and Duchess with a politeness that bordered on indifference. There were no warm embraces from the A-list titans, no deep conversations with the studio heads who also frequent these games. Instead, Harry and Meghan seemed to be existing in a bubble of their own making, performing for an audience that is increasingly losing interest. Why this sudden need to be seen at a basketball game? It is certainly not because Prince Harry has developed a sudden, passionate understanding of the pick and roll. It is because the Sussex brand is currently staring into a financial abyss, and they are desperately hunting for their next lifeline. Consider the timing. We are in early 2026. The lucrative deals that launched their American experiment are drying up. The Spotify millions are long gone. The Netflix contract is entering its final precarious stages, with executives demanding content that the couple simply has not produced. The advance for Harry's memoir has been spent, and yet the lifestyle, the security, the travel, the wardrobe, the sprawling estate requires a burn rate of cash that would make a billionaire wince. A well-meaning former financial aide, someone who has seen the spreadsheets that keep the Montecito operation afloat, has whispered that the situation is far more dire than the public realizes. They are asset-rich in terms of name recognition, but cash-poor in terms of liquid capital. This appearance at the NBA All-Star Game was, in essence, a trade show appearance. They were there to be seen by the money men, to remind the world that they are still available for the highest bidder. It was a hustle, a glamorous courtside hustle, but a hustle nonetheless. And it is this financial panic that explains the other major story breaking over the last 48 hours. The renewed exodus of staff from their charitable foundation and their production company. We have heard the reports of a meltdown behind the scenes. The narrative in the press is often framed around Meghan's management style, the dictator duchess tropes that have followed her from Kensington Palace to California. And while a source within the inner circle confirms that the atmosphere is indeed toxic, they suggest the root cause is not just personality, but panic. The staff are leaving because they can see the writing on the wall. They know that a company without a clear revenue stream is a sinking ship. Imagine the atmosphere in that office. You have a Duke and Duchess demanding world-changing impact, demanding A-list results, but the coffers are emptying, and the phone isn't ringing with new offers. The pressure to monetize their royal status has become suffocating. Every appearance, every photo op, every statement is now weighed against its potential to generate income. This is why we see the frantic pivoting on month it is cooking shows. The next it is rom-com adaptations. The next it is meet and greets at basketball games. It is the flailing of a brand that has no core identity other than "we used to be royals." The staff members who walked out this week did not do so lightly. These are high-level professionals who joined with hopes of being part of a global movement. Instead, according to a well-placed source, they found themselves managing the egos of two people who are terrified of irrelevance. They were tasked with impossible objectives: make us the most popular couple in America, while their employers simultaneously engage in petty lawsuits and family feuds that alienate the very public they need to woo. And let us be frank about the optics of this weekend. While they sat in seats that cost thousands of dollars, surrounded by excess, the disconnect between their humanitarian preaching and their consumerist reality has never been starker. They lecture us on equality, on poverty, on climate change, and yet they display a thirst for the high life that rivals the most ostentatious oligarchs. This hypocrisy is not lost on the American public, nor is it lost on the donors they are trying to court. The tragedy of the Hollywood hustle is that it requires a product to sell. When the Beckhams go to America, they sell fashion, they sell football, they sell a distinct, tangible brand. When Harry and Meghan go to the NBA, what are they selling? Grievance? Victimhood? A royal title that they use to open doors, but refuse to respect. The investors in the VIP boxes aren't stupid. They know a bad investment when they see one. They see a couple who have burned bridges with the most famous family in the world, a couple who have a track record of over-promising and under-delivering. So when you look at those photos of Harry laughing courtside, look closer. Look at the eyes. That is not the look of a man enjoying the game. That is the look of a man scanning the room, wondering who is going to pay the security bill next month. That is the look of a man who realizes that the freedom he bought came with a price tag he can no longer afford. The smiles are fixed, the teeth are gleaming, but the foundation is rotting. They are playing a game of high-stakes poker with no cards left in their hand. And as we will discuss in the next part of this program, this financial pressure is acting like a vice on their marriage, squeezing the life out of the domestic bliss they try so hard to project. The cracks are not just in the bank account, they are in the home itself. If the financial strain is the vice tightening around the Sussex brand, then the events of this Valentine's weekend were the sound of the metal finally beginning to buckle. We have discussed the desperate hustle of the NBA game, but that was merely the polished, televised finale of a weekend that began in a far more chaotic and, frankly, baffling manner. We must turn our attention to the evening of February 14th. One would expect a couple who constantly preach about safety, privacy, and curated environments to choose a Valentine's venue that reflects those values, perhaps a private room at Nobu or a quiet retreat in Santa Barbara. Instead, reports flooding in from Los Angeles paint a picture of a night that was less romance and roses and more rebellion and risk. A source behind closed doors in the Los Angeles hospitality scene has indicated that the Duke and Duchess were spotted at a venue with a reputation that is, to put it mildly, colourful. Now I will not dignify the most sordid online whispers. The phrases like cocaine den that have been circulating on social media are perhaps hyperbolic, but the core of the rumour is significant. Locals know this place not for its fine dining, but for its loose atmosphere and anything-goes clientele. Why on earth would the grandson of the king be there? It reeks of a clash of lifestyles. For months we have heard whispers that Harry is bored. Bored of the kale smoothies, bored of the manifesting, bored of the sanitized, woke existence Meghan has constructed around him. Was this choice of venue a petulant act of rebellion? A desire to feel something real, something gritty, something that wasn't approved by a PR team? Or was it simply a sign that they are no longer welcome in the truly elite establishments, forcing them to drift into the murkier waters of LA nightlife? Whatever the reason, the optics were disastrous. Instead of the power couple dining with dignitaries, we saw a pair looking out of place, and if the accounts are to be believed, distinctly unhappy. It feeds directly into the narrative that has been dogging them for the better part of a year, the reality of separate lives. Let us be clear, the solopreneur strategy, the idea that they could build separate brands, with Meghan as the lifestyle guru and Harry as the humanitarian, has failed. Spectacularly. But a well-placed source within the Montecito household suggests that this professional separation was merely a cover for a personal drift. Harry is reportedly spending more and more time away from the family home, staying in hotels or guest houses to escape the relentless pressure of Meghan's ambition. He misses the UK. He misses his friends. He misses the structure of the life he threw away. And in his place he has found a life of endless hustling, where every dinner is a networking opportunity, and every holiday is a content creation session. The tension is palpable. You have a duchess who is obsessed with conquering Hollywood, and a duke who seems to be realizing that he hates the very industry she idolizes. They are pulling in opposite directions, and the rope is fraying. And this, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the most cynical move of the entire weekend, the sudden, miraculous appearance of Princess Lilibet. Just as the stories about the disastrous Valentine's dinner and the separate lives began to gain traction online, poof, a new photo is released. On February 15th, amidst the chaos, we are treated to a rare, high-definition image of Prince Harry holding his daughter, surrounded by red balloons. Now, ask yourself, why now? For years, Meghan has been the high priestess of privacy. She has sued photographers, she has lectured the press, she has hidden her children's faces with an almost obsessive zeal. We are told that their childhood is sacred. Yet whenever the Duchess feels her control slipping, whenever the negative headlines about her marriage or her business failures become too loud, the children are deployed. It is a pattern so predictable, it is almost insulting. The Lilibet photo was not a sweet family moment shared with fans. It was a shield. It was a calculated distraction designed to shift the conversation from, "Are they divorcing?" to, "Oh, look how much she looks like Harry." It is emotional manipulation of the highest order. By releasing this image, Meghan is attempting to regain control of the narrative. She is saying, "Look at us, we are the perfect family. Harry is a doting father. We are happy." It is a direct countermove to the rumors of his unhappiness. She is using the innocence of her child to paper over the cracks in her marriage. It is a weaponization of motherhood that stands in stark contrast to the feminist and humanitarian values she claims to uphold. Furthermore, notice the composition. It is Harry holding the child. It reinforces his role as the family man, anchoring him to the domestic life she controls. It is a subtle reminder to him and to the world of what he stands to lose if he walks away. It is a leash disguised as a love letter. The domestic Cold War is being fought on two fronts. On one side you have Harry's erratic behavior, the strange venue choices, the gloomy demeanor, the physical drifting. On the other, you have Meghan's iron grip on the public image, using every tool at her disposal, even her own daughter, to maintain the facade of the Sussex fairy tale. but how long can this charade continue? You can only hide behind a child's smile for so long before the truth comes out. And as we will see in the final part of our discussion, the threats facing them are not just internal. There are external forces, legal lists, bitter feuds, and ghosts from the past that are closing in, threatening to shatter the illusion once and for all. The walls of Montecito are high, but they are not high enough to keep out the truth. If the domestic Cold War and the frantic financial hustling were not enough to shatter the peace in Montecito, there is a far darker, more ominous storm gathering on the horizon, a scorched earth scenario that threatens to burn what little credibility the Sussexes have left. We have discussed the facade of the happy marriage and the strategic deployment of their children, but now we must confront the issues that truly keep them awake at night. These are not merely matters of bad press or awkward photos. These are matters of reputation, legal peril, and a jealousy so deep-seated it seems to have consumed the Duke entirely. Let us address the spectre that has been haunting the corridors of power for weeks, and which has now, according to persistent whispers circulating in legal and diplomatic circles, begun to drift uncomfortably close to the Duchess herself. We are, of course, talking about the Epstein saga. For some time now, the Internet has been ablaze with speculation regarding the release of new documents and lists associated with the disgraced financier. And while the Duke of York, Prince Andrew, has rightfully borne the brunt of public scrutiny for his appalling associations, a new, more insidious narrative is emerging from the shadows. There are murmurs, quiet, insistent, and growing in volume, that questions are being asked about Meghan's own past connections. We are hearing reports from sources deep within the legal community of a certain unease regarding her time in social circles that may have overlapped with figures we would rather not mention in polite society. Now consider the breathtaking hypocrisy at play here. We are told by sources close to the couple that Meghan has issued strict warnings to Harry to stay away from his uncle, to distance the Sussex brand from the toxic fallout of the York scandal. She is reportedly terrified that the contagion will spread to her carefully curated empire of lifestyle blogs and jams. She plays the role of the moral guardian, the protector of the family reputation. But if the whispers from legal circles are to be believed, she may well be projecting her own anxieties. It is a classic deflection tactic. Point the finger at the easy target, the disgraced Prince Andrew, while hoping no one looks too closely at your own diary from 15 years ago. The audacity of it is staggering. Here is a woman who entered the royal family with a history, a past, and a network of connections that were never fully vetted by the public. And now, as the rhetoric heats up, she is allegedly positioning herself as the moral arbiter, telling Harry who he can and cannot speak to. It creates a dynamic of paranoia. If she is indeed warning him, is it out of protection for him or protection for herself? Is she afraid of what an association with the Yorks might reveal about her own navigation of high society before she met her prince? The silence from their camp on this specific issue is, as they say, deafening, and it suggests a panic that goes far deeper than mere association. But if fear is the driving force behind the Epstein rumors, then pure, unadulterated envy is the engine driving the next scandal. A long-time family acquaintance has provided insight into a new biography that is currently causing tremors in London. The book, which dissects the breakdown of the relationship between the brothers, claims that Harry was and remains absolutely furious about the issue of security. But it is not just about safety. It is about status. Specifically, the disparity between the protection afforded to Catherine, the Princess of Wales, when she was merely William's girlfriend, and the protection given to Meghan. According to this source, Harry has harboured a bitter grudge for years, convinced that the palace bent the rules for Catherine while leaving Meghan to the wolves. He reportedly views this not as a matter of protocol — Catherine was, after all, dating the future King — but as a personal slight, a deliberate act of malice. He points to the fact that Catherine was given protection even before an engagement ring was on her finger, while Meghan, in his twisted narrative, was forced to beg for scraps. He has allowed this grievance to fester into a full-blown obsession, reportedly using it as evidence of the institutional bias he claims forced them out. This is the tragedy of Prince Harry in a nutshell. He is a man obsessed with the past, picking at old scabs until they bleed, unable to understand that hierarchy is the very essence of the institution he was born into. He cannot grasp that the wife of the heir and the wife of the spare are not, and never will be, on equal footing. To him, it is all a conspiracy. To the rest of us, it is constitutional reality. This jealousy of Catherine, of her popularity, her dignity, and her unassailable position is the poison in the Sussex chalice. Meghan, we are told, feeds this grievance. She reinforces the narrative that they are victims, that Catherine is the villain who stole their limelight and their security. It is a toxic feedback loop. They sit in their Montecito mansion, stewing over security arrangements from nearly a decade ago, while the world moves on. It is pathetic, really. It shows a couple who are not looking forward to the future, but are perpetually looking back in anger, keeping score in a game they have already lost. So, where does this leave them? What is the end game for Harry and Meghan as we move deeper into 2026? The picture painted by financial experts and brand analysts is bleak. The separate lives we discussed earlier are likely to continue, but a full divorce, that is a complicated matter. You see, they are trapped. They are bound together not by love, but by necessity. The Sussex brand is a house of cards built on the concept of their unity. Apart, their value plummets. Harry without Meghan is a sad, isolated figure with no career prospects. Meghan without Harry is simply a former cable actress with a title she can no longer use effectively. They need each other to sustain the lifestyle to which they have become addicted. The private jets, the security teams, the designer wardrobes, none of it is sustainable on a solo income. We are witnessing a gold digger's dilemma. She may have sought the prince and the fortune, but she has found herself with a prince who is cut off from the bank and a fortune that is rapidly dwindling due to exorbitant spending and failed business ventures. A divorce now would be financially catastrophic for both. There is no vast royal trust fund for her to claim half of. There is only a mountain of overheads and a dwindling stream of income. They are locked in a golden cage, forced to perform the role of the happy couple at basketball games and in Valentine's photos because the alternative is financial oblivion. They will continue to launch rebrands. They will continue to blame the press. They will continue to issue moral lectures while living lives of spectacular indulgence. But the cracks in the foundation are now too wide to ignore. The staff are leaving. The friends are disappearing. The family is estranged. And the rumors, the dark, damaging rumors about their pasts and their marriage are getting louder. The smile may be fixed on their faces, but the eyes tell a different story. It is the look of two people who know the game is up, but who have no choice but to keep playing. Thank you for watching. As always, we will keep a very close watch on the developments from California. Do not be fooled by the balloons and the basketballs. The real story is always what they are trying to hide. Until next time.